Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to create a slide to delete component using React Native, Expo, and Reanimated. So let's start by copying the create Expo app command and paste it inside our terminal. Let's call it swipe to action because it's not actually only deleting, but we're gonna have an archive action tutorial. Okay, and let's wait for npm to finish installing our dependencies. Okay, once our dependencies are done installing, we're gonna cd into the new created folder and open VS Code inside it. Let me put the simulator on the side and let me open up our index tab, open the terminal, and let's npm start. Press I. Oh, we have an error and I know what this is all about. I'm gonna npm install again. If you have the same error, just npm install again. I'm gonna show you the error. So if you do have the same error, delete the node modules folder and npm install again. You should get rid of it. Okay, it works. So let's see if our app works correctly. Perfect. Let's clean up our index tab. We don't need styles, and let's put an empty fragment and a safe area view from React Native, and let's render a text inside it. Home. Okay, it works correctly. So we're gonna start now by creating our swipe to action.tsx. I always start with an empty fragment. You can of course omit that. And let's render our swipe to action component and import it. Perfect. Now that we have this component, it should accept some children, so I'm gonna just close it and put the text inside it. Right now it does not accept children, so we have to fix that. We specify the children props and the swipe to action props, which we're gonna create right now. So type children React node, import from React. Okay. Now we can render children and it works perfectly. Now let's create our style sheets. So styles style sheet dot create, and let's start with a container which should have a full width and full height. Let's give it a border radius of 10. That's okay, and that's okay for now. Let's wrap our children element with a view and import our view component from React Native. Let's assign our newly created styles to this view component. So styles.container, and let's give it a border width of 1 pixel just to see the border, and a border color of black, and a background color of red. That's perfect. This is our swipe to action component. Now, I don't want to style this component. I just want to give it a full width and height and style it from the outside by styling its children. So we're gonna accept a custom styles, which is gonna be of type style prop view style. This is gonna be optional, and we import the missing types from React Native. Now our component will accept an array of styles, and we just assign the custom styles component prop, sorry, custom styles, and we declare it on the props. That's perfect. Now in here we got custom styles, and we give it a height of 150 pixels. Okay, that's perfect. Also, let's give it a background color of blue. Our text, let's style it and give it a color of white. A font size of 24, and let me wrap this text inside another view and style this view. I'm not gonna create a style sheet because I don't want to. It's a bit slower. Our style is gonna have a display flex, justify content center, and align items center, so we can have our text aligned perfectly. We gonna give this a height of 100% and a width of 100%. Here we go. We have our component. Let's just add another view outside here because I want to add some padding to our swipe to delete component. So style and padding 20. Of course, you should do this using style sheet create, but for now, just to be a bit faster, I'm gonna create styles on the go. So we have our swipe to action component, and we can now continue working on it. Let's wrap this component inside another view, and let's actually assign the styles that we did assign to the other view to our outside view. That's perfect. This is the view that's gonna render our children. We're gonna have two other views inside this container. So let's just have three views, and this container is gonna be a display of type flex and position relative. You'll understand why right now. What's gonna happen is the view component that's got children inside is gonna be on top of the other ones, while the other two are gonna take up each half of the outer view component. So I'm gonna show you this by slider, container, position absolute. Oops, no, I got too much autocomplete. I'm gonna have opacity turned down a bit, so just so you can see what's going down below, and a z index of 10, so you can see it's above the other two. Let's call this a archived style container. So styles dot archived container. Okay, and let's create a style. So archived container is gonna have a width of 50% and a background color of green. Let's do a deleted container. Let's assign the style to the correct one. So let's see why we don't see the other two views. Oh, because we didn't assign the correct styles to this one. So it's styles.slider container. let's give it full width and full height. Okay, that's perfect. We have our component correctly set up. Now let's see why we don't see the two containers that are below this, so the green and the red one. Oh, okay, maybe it's because I'm missing a flex direction of a row. That's perfect. Okay, that's exactly how we want it. Now, let's import a couple of icons from Expo icons. So Expo vector icons. Let's get an archive container, archive icon, sorry. And let's put it inside our archived container. Let's import font awesome 6. Let's remove color and size. We can already see the newly created icon. Let's set a global font size, const font size of 30, and let's assign it to our icon size. So size is gonna be font size. Oops. Perfect. Let's do the same with a delete icon. Perfect. Let's import it, remove the color, and set the font size using our global constant. Now, let's give it a color of white to both icons. And that's perfect. Now, I'm going to wrap both icons with a view. Oops. Just so we can center these icons. Styles, icon container. Styles dot icon container. Do the same for the other icon. And create the icon container style. No, position absolute top 50%, and it's gonna have a transform. That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfectly centered. Now, the delete icon is gonna have a right of 30, and the archived icon is gonna have a left of 30. Now let's assign those styles to our components. So styles.delete icon and styles.archived icon. We are missing a square bracket here, and that's perfect. Let's reload. I see some overflow issues, so let me set an overflow. Oops, overflow hidden. Let's reload, and that's perfect. I can remove the border width and border color. Okay, we can see our structure now. What would happen is once we slide our upper layer to the left or to the right, it's gonna show only the delete or archive container that's below. So we need to start animating this. Let's get our reanimated dependency. Oh, not here. Getting started, and let's take this command. Oh no, the installation command. Let's stop our application, install Reanimated, And let's add this line to our plugins. So look for the specified file, configuration file, plugins, and paste it in here. Make sure, as it said right here, that the Reanimated plugin is listed as the last one. And once we're done, we can restart our application using the Expo start a -c command. The -c indicates that it should start without caching, so to make sure that Reanimated is correctly set up and Expo is not using any cache. Okay, let's reload, and we should have Reanimated inside our application. Let's set up our gesture. So we need the pen gesture. Here is it. Let's just copy everything and then modify it. So we don't need the pressed value. I'm gonna explain everything in detail right now. Let's just import the missing dependencies. So pressed, we don't have that anymore. We can also delete the onBegin method, and on the with the spring, delete here, use animated style. We don't need this, and we don't need this. So what's happening? We created an offset which is a shared value, because it's a shared value is a use state but for the Reanimated, because the Reanimated runs on the UI thread, because there's the UI and the JS thread. So using a use shared value creates a value that's shared between the UI thread, and that's the type of variable that you need to use when dealing with the Reanimated animations. Now that we have our variable, we can have our gesture created and say that when this gesture triggers the onChange event, we get the event.translation x, which is the amount that we slid this component left or right, and we're gonna set the offset that value implicitly, so without a set value as you would with use state, equal to the event.translation x. On finalize means when you release this sliding component, it's gonna set it back to 0 with a spring animation. Use animated style is another Reanimated hook which creates styles that need to be animated depending on some shared values. So in this case, it would transform by translating x based on the offset dot value that we specified. So to begin using this gesture handler, we're gonna need this root view, gesture handler root view component, and we import it from React Native gesture handler. I'm not gonna need any styles, and our gesture detector, which accepts a gesture prop, which is our pen variable that we just created. We import gesture detector and we should be done. Let's try. Doesn't work because we didn't assign the animated styles to our children container. So we wrap this with square brackets and we add the animated styles, but it's not done. We need to turn this view into an animated.view, and we import animated from React Reanimated. It should work now. Let's see. That's perfect. You can see, I mean, you really can't see that much, so I'm gonna increase the opacity a bit. Okay, it's not a lot better. Background color of blue. Here you go. You can see that it works perfectly. So I'm gonna remove the with spring. Okay, let's do it with timing. Let's set it back that it needs to go to 0, duration of 400 milliseconds. And let's give it an easing. I'm gonna use easing from React Native Reanimated dot a Bezier, and I'm accepting these values from Copilot. So 0.25, 0.1, 0.25, and 1. I don't know how these values act. Let's see if it's right enough. Otherwise you can change it, of course. Okay, that's perfect. I like it. So now we need to make sure that whenever we slide to the left, the delete container needs to occupy the full width so that we do not see the green container. So let's create a animated delete container style, and let's rename this to animated slider container style and set it right here. So use animated style, and we're gonna set the width to be offset dot value plus 50, because we start at 50%, and we set this into a variable and add the percentage at the end. Doesn't work because haven't closed our use animated style hook. Let's see here. This is correct. Let's see. Okay, this should be working. Let's see. Oh, we have to assign it, of course. This is animated container style without the delete, because we're gonna use this on both, or maybe not. Let's just do this for the delete one and see if we can use it on the other component. So turn this one into an animated view and add our newly created animated style with animated delete container style. Oh, it doesn't work right now. Let's see why that is. This is the we did not set the correct styles, because this is the icon container, so we should say this. Still does not work because it's not animated. My bad. Okay, it works on the opposite direction, maybe. Okay, that's perfect. It's stretching, but on the other side, so you cannot really see it. Let's set. We need to make sure that the archive container takes less space so that it doesn't need to stretch on the other side. So animated archive container style, and it should, let's see if Copilot helps me. Yeah, it's the opposite. So this is with a minus and this is without it. Let's set the styles to the archived container and turn it into an animated view. Let's see how this turns out. This is perfect. I'm gonna explain right now why it doesn't work for the delete icon. So we need to clamp this value, and by clamp we mean we need to set a maximum and minimum which this width can reach, because if it goes beyond 100%, it's gonna just go all the way. without ever respecting the screen's value, so that's why the trash icon just stretches beyond the screen. Let's set the minimum to be 0% and the maximum to be 100%. And as you can see, it works perfectly. Let's do the same thing here because it's correct. 0 and 100. That's perfect. Now, our swipe to delete is almost perfect. We can add some additional touches. Let's see. I would, for example, animate the icon. So let's add some animations also to the icons. Let's create an animated icon style. Use animated style, and let's set the transform property to have a translate x of offset dot value and a translate y, which keeps the icon on the same place. So use here and the same thing here. Oh, okay, now it moves on with the same value as the offset, so we need to lower it down a bit. Let's do half of offset value. Okay, let me put a quarter of that. And that's perfect. This is the animation that I was looking for. As you can see, it works really smoothly and without any issues. So we can actually remove the opacity. We don't need that. And now, as we can see, we have our slide to action component. So I'm gonna make a couple of changes that are gonna make it a bit better. I'm gonna introduce a threshold. So I'm gonna explain what that is. Let's first take the screen width from use window dimensions hook that's inside React Native and set the threshold, which is gonna be a threshold, yeah, probably half of the screen width divided by 2 and use memo. That's perfect. So I want to make sure that once you slide the component past the threshold, it should automatically slide all the way to the left or all the way to the right, so that the user understands when the action kicks in. So for example, if you slide it all the way to this side and you release, you should not delete the element. But if you slide it past a certain point, which is at this point half the screen width as we set in the threshold, is gonna delete this component. So I'm gonna help this visually by creating a object and Copilot already knows what I'm trying to do. So it's gonna be a delete action if our event translation x, so it starts from 0. If we go to a value that's below minus threshold, so for example threshold is 100, if it goes past 100, it's gonna automatically go all the way here. So same thing for the archive, just it's the opposite. So if deleted, I'm gonna set the offset dot value to be a width spring, so I'm gonna animate it to minus screen width without animations, but I'm gonna set it plus 40%. Else if archived, the opposite, that's perfect. Else we're gonna just set the offset value as it is. Let's see if this already does what I'm aiming for. Okay, yeah, it does it. I think half the screen width is not enough. Maybe a third is good enough. Okay, that's perfect. As you can see, I only need to get it to a third of the screen, and boom, it goes all the way to the left. Let's try if archive does the same thing. Yeah, that's perfect. So now we know, the user knows that if he slides all the way to here, nothing's gonna happen, but once it triggers the threshold, it is gonna delete it, so he needs to go back to the starting point to not trigger the action. And just let's set this action. We need a on and method, which is gonna give us a callback with the event as always. And let's check the action by using the same logic that we use here, and see if deleted. Oopsie. I'm gonna alert the alert deleted. Otherwise, archived is gonna do the same thing, or else it will not do anything. So let's try. We go past the threshold, I'm gonna leave, and it crashes. I'm gonna explain why right now. So the issue is, let me reopen our Expo app, that right here we're using the UI thread, so we cannot run JavaScript inside the UI thread. We have a way to do so, to run JavaScript on the UI thread. We need to declare our function. So alert user is gonna be a function. I'm gonna use the use callback, and it's gonna alert the alert type. So we need to import use callback from React, and type is gonna be either archived or deleted. Why do we need to do this? Because our next function that I'm going to introduce you to is called run on JS, and it takes in a reference to a function. So you cannot create a function like this, you cannot create a closure. It needs a stable reference to a function, and everything else that we need to pass to this alert user as a prop, it needs to go inside the next two parentheses. So as you can see, it's already typed in. We do this, but this is not archived, this is deleted, and same thing here is archived. I'm pretty sure this is gonna work. Let's see. And boom, it works. As you can see, if we get it past the threshold and leave, it's gonna alert us, but if we go past it and go back, it won't. So our logic works correctly. As you can see, this is our complete swipe to action component. I hope you really liked this video. I hope everything was clear. If not, please don't feel free to ask in the comments for anything. I will gladly help you so. And I hope I see you on another video. Peace.